Welcome back to my channel. I'm Joe with Smokin Joe's Pet Barbecue. On today's video, we're going to be making bacon, and I'm going to show you how simple it is so that you can make this at home. Stay tuned. Alright, so let's get started on our homemade bacon. Now this is a 10-pound pork belly, but this is a very special pork belly. Let me take it out of the package to show you what I'm talking about here. Alright, so I just took the pork belly out of the package. Now on this side, it looks like any normal pork belly, right? But once you flip it over, you'll see that this has a ton of meat on it. This actually has these spare ribs attached to it, but the bones have been removed from this pork belly. So what does that mean? That means that we're gonna end up with some super meaty, delicious bacon. So as I mentioned in the introduction, we are going to make this as simple as possible. So I'm just gonna move my pork belly aside. So the curing process is probably the most difficult thing that most people face, but PS Seasoning has made this super easy for you guys to make bacon at home. We've got some cure right here. This is a maple cure and brine from PS Seasoning. Check them out at the link below. This is gonna make it super easy to brine our bacon. So because we are starting with a 10-pound pork belly, again, the instructions say to use 6 quarts of water, which I have in this plastic tub. And I'm gonna use 2 1/4 cups of this brine. Just toss that in there. There's 2 1/4. You want to make sure that brine is 100% dissolved. We're starting with ice cold water. Now you can make your own brine at home if you wanted to using sodium nitrite, but again, PS Seasoning has made this super easy. This brine already has salt, sugar, cane sugar, along with maple syrup mixed into it. Alright, so this is mixed really well. So at this point, this is a blank canvas. You can add whatever spices and herbs, maybe a little bit more brown sugar into your cure if you wanted to. So feel free to add whatever spices you want, maybe some black pepper, etc. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more brown sugar, probably half a cup of brown sugar. Just mix that in really well. It's going to give us a nice sweet flavored bacon. I'm also going to be adding a 1/4 cup of red pepper flake. This is going to give us a little bit of heat, nothing too crazy. Just like that. Mix that in. Oh man, those chili flakes kicked me right in the back of the throat right now. All right, so that brine is ready. Next, all we got to do is grab our pork belly and dunk it in here. Look at that, perfect. All right, so at this point, I'm gonna pop this in my fridge, and every day, I'm simply gonna turn this pork belly just like this. So I'm gonna start with the fat cap up, and tomorrow, I'm gonna flip this so that it's meat side up. I'm gonna do this for 8 days, so we will see you guys in 8 days. Stay tuned. All right, so it's been a total of 8 days, and the bacon has been inside of the brine, and as I mentioned on the last clip, I was rotating this belly. Now, I will say that after the 4th day, the pork belly actually sunk to the bottom, which means it was absorbing the brine. So I no longer had to flip it, which is good. That means that the pork belly absorbed a ton of this brine. So I'm gonna pull it out of the brine. All right, so here's our pork belly. I am gonna rinse this under cold water, so I'll bring you guys right back. All right, so I'm just gonna pat the pork belly dry with some paper towels. Dry off both sides. Now one thing that I did notice about the pork belly is that it's really firm, a lot firmer than when we put it in, which is good. So the pork belly is gonna rest in my fridge one more night outside of the brine. I'm gonna put this on a rack, but prior to that, I'm gonna season this. Now you don't have to season your bacon if you don't want to, but this is your opportunity to add a little bit more flavor to your bacon. I'm not gonna do anything crazy. I'm just gonna add a little bit of pepper on the outside. So I'm gonna add some pepper on the meat side first, just a little bit. So the reason I'm choosing to add the pepper now is because the surface is pretty moist. That means that pepper will stick to the pork belly. We're gonna place this in the fridge overnight, and the reason we want to do that is to really dry up the surface of the pork belly. All right, let's do the fat cap. So I'm going to lift up this pork belly and place a wire rack inside my tray right here. Place your pork belly on top of this rack. That way we get some nice airflow on the bottom and the top side of the pork belly. So I'm going to toss this in my fridge overnight, and tomorrow we will be smoking this. Stay tuned. Alright, so it's the very next day and the bacon has been sitting inside my fridge overnight, so the surface is really nice and dry. But before I show you guys the bacon, I do want to show you guys the smoker that I'm going to be smoking this bacon in. This is my brand new Pro Max 100S Smokehouse from Pro Smoker, and this thing is a beauty. So some of you guys may have seen my PK100 smoker. I've used that to smoke sausages in the past. I use it as a holding cabinet, but that PK100 smoker has been replaced by this Pro Max 100S, and this thing is the Cadillac of backyard smokehouses. So I want to go over some of the features of the Pro Max 100S Smokehouse. As you can see, it does have this really nice cart that raises the smokehouse itself, which is really nice because I am 6'1" and I needed something that stands up a little bit higher. So thank you, Pro Smoker, for doing that. Secondly, you'll see a small door at the very bottom right there. Now, my PK100 smoker just had one solid door, which again, if you would open that door, you would lose some of the heat. Well, again, Pro Smoker really thought about this. They put a small door at the very bottom, so you have access to your ash pan and also a water pan that I'll show you guys here in a minute. So a couple of other features that I really love about the Pro Max is this controller right here. You do have the smoke feature that you can go up to 180 degrees. You can also cook on this smoker right here, and the highest temperature that you can go on the cook setting is 300 degrees that you see right there. So one of the other nice things is that this controller also has a timer, so you can keep track of your cooks right here. Now the other nice thing is that this controller also has some probes. Now this does have 3 ports right here. I'm only going to be using one, and as you can see, I did run it down the exhaust, and I'll show you guys that here in a minute. So probably one of my favorite features about the Pro Max is that it does come with an app. So if you click on that, it opens up, it tells you what the pit is set at, 180 degrees. You can see what it's currently at, 148 degrees. You can see what the probe is reading, 173 degrees. One of the other nice things, you can actually set the temperature of the smokehouse right here off the app. Again, we're wanting 180 degrees. So I'm gonna hit set. And last but not least, I can actually power off the smokehouse right here from the app itself, which means if the product is ready, I can actually shut the power off right here, let it rest right here, right inside of the smokehouse. All right, let's take a look inside the smokehouse itself. Really nice hinges, by the way. Now I did already season this, so all I did was spray some cooking oil on the gaskets. I ran the smokehouse at 180 degrees for 3 hours, and it's 100% seasoned. Now you do get 6 shelves, you can see. Now I moved the shelves up since I'm only going to be using one shelf for this cook. I just moved all the other shelves to the top. Here's the probe that I ran from the exhaust port right here, so I'm just going to lay this on the rack until I put the bacon inside. Now on the bottom you still have your drip tray, which I lined with foil. Makes cleanup a lot easier. So at the very bottom you can see the burner right there. That's where the sawdust pan is going to go, and that's what creates the smoke inside of the smokehouse itself. And there's a water pan right here on the left side. So if you ever wanted to add moisture to your product, just fill up that small reservoir with water, and it's going to add moisture to the environment inside of the smokehouse. So I almost forgot to mention that you do have a light switch on the back of the unit right here. It's got a little rocker switch. So the inside of the cabinet does have a light, which makes it really easy if you're cooking at night. All right, I'm going to go grab the bacon, and I'll bring you guys right back. All right, so I've got my bacon. I'm just going to open up this door. I've got the smokehouse set at 180 degrees, and I do have the intake and the exhaust 100% of the way open because we're going to be drying this bacon for the first hour, again at 180 degrees. And here it is. Look at that. Nice peppered bacon here. Just going to slide this on there. Now you can actually hang this bacon if you wanted to using the 3 rods that come with the smokehouse, but I'm going to lay it flat. Slide that all the way in. I'm going to put the probe, try to get the middle of the bacon right here. Just like that. Again, for the first part of this cook, I'm cooking at 180 degrees with no smoke. I'm looking for about 100 degrees internal. Once the bacon hits that, I'll bring you guys right back. All right, so it's been about an hour and a half, and the internal temperature of the bacon is almost at 100 degrees. In fact, let's go ahead and check that here. All right, so we're sitting at 98 degrees according to the probe. So at this point, I'm going to close the intake and the exhaust to 2/3. 2/3 closed, or 1/3 open. So that's the exhaust. I'm going to shut down our intake as well. Just like that. All right, so I'm going to be using hickory sawdust for this cook. So what I did is I filled up this pan about 3/4 of the way full, added enough water to make sure all of the sawdust is completely wet. You want to make sure you don't have any dry spots in there. So Pro Smoker does recommend that you funnel the sawdust to the outside of the pan like this, leaving a void in the center. That way you get that wick effect when this starts to smoke. I'm going to open up the bottom door and very carefully place this pan on the burner. Make sure it's centered. Close the door. We're still running at 180 degrees. I'm gonna let this smoke for a couple of hours, and I'll bring you guys back at that point. Stay tuned. All right, so the bacon has been smoking for 2 hours and 15 minutes, and the internal temperature is 131 degrees. Let's take a look at that bacon, see what it looks like. All right, let's see what the bacon looks like. Actually, I'm gonna turn on the light. Oh, look at that. Let there be light. Oh yeah, it's firming up, but it's still not ready. So I'm gonna go ahead and close the door so we don't lose a ton of heat. All right, so for this next step, I'm gonna take out the sawdust pan very carefully. Be careful because it's really hot. So essentially we are done with the smoking of our bacon. Again, be very careful because this pan is really hot. I'm also gonna fully close the intake along with our exhaust. Now I'm going to put the controller in cook mode. Right there. I'm going to crank it up to 225 degrees. Push this button in. You can see we have it set at 225 degrees. Currently it's at 151 degrees. And let's check the internal temperature of the bacon. It is sitting at 129 degrees internal, so it actually came down just a bit. So at this point, I'm just waiting for that bacon to come up to 150 degrees. Once it hits that temperature, I'll bring you guys right back. All right, so exactly 1 hour later, the bacon is ready. The internal temperature was 150 degrees, and this is what we've got. Look at this color right here. And I gotta tell you, it smells really good. It smells like hickory smoked bacon right here. So this has been resting on my counter for about 30 minutes, and I'd love to take a few slices and fry them up, but it's best to let it rest overnight inside the fridge overnight. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. We will see you guys tomorrow. Stay tuned. All right, so it's the very next day, and the bacon was resting in the fridge overnight, and I gotta tell you, it has firmed up. So let's slice into this bad boy and see what we got. I gotta tell you, this smells really good, and this is going to be the meatiest bacon I have ever had in my life. So let's slice into it. Get that center cut, money shot. Oh man, it's nice and firm. Look at that. Does that look delish or what? I'm gonna get some nice thin slices. Now I could break out my slicer, but we came pretty far to break out a slicer. I'm just gonna do this by hand, try to keep the slices nice and straight and thick as well. You know, this bacon is really nice and firm. So using a nice slicing knife like this makes it really easy because that bacon is nice and firm. Look at that, man. Whew, man. I cannot wait to fry some of this bacon up. All right, so I sliced up the bacon, and check this out. Look at the amount of meat on this bacon right here. I mean, you got very little fat. This is totally different than store-bought bacon. Oh my goodness, nice little pepper crust on the top right now. Now this bacon is 100% cooked. Remember, we took it to 150 degrees. So if you wanted to, you can just eat it like this. But we are going to be frying this bacon, so stay tuned. All right, so I've got my 12-inch cast iron pan right here, and check this out. This is from the company Smithy Ironware, made in the USA, and check it out. It's got my logo on there, and I got to tell you, this is an heirloom piece. So if you guys have a family member that you want to leave some cast iron to, beautiful cast iron to, hit up Smithy, get one engraved with your logo or your last name. And I got to tell you, these are going to last a lifetime. Now, one thing that I absolutely love about Smithy is that this is the lid for this cast iron pan right here. 12-inch skillet, serves as a lid, but it's also a skillet if you use it by itself like this. Again, if you guys are interested in buying some of this beautiful cast iron from Smithy, check them out at the link below. So I'm just going to turn on my induction burner right here. I'm going to set it to a medium temperature, let it warm up. So this cast iron right here is pre-seasoned from Smithy. It's got a really nice smooth texture to it. So there's nothing you have to do except rinse it under warm water and it is ready to use. Now, a little pro tip, when cooking bacon, you don't have to get your cast iron extremely hot. In fact, bacon cooks better at a medium temperature. All right, so that skillet has been on for a couple of minutes. Let's throw in our bacon. Oh yes. Man, the aroma that's coming off of this bacon already is absolutely amazing. All right, I fried up the bacon and look at that. Does that look amazing or what? Nice and crispy, super thick bacon. You know we got to make ourselves a BLT, so I've got some Texas toast. Gonna add some Duke's mayo. Now I did toast both sides of this bread. Make it nice and crunchy. Gonna have some romaine lettuce. Gotta have the tomatoes. Got some Roma tomatoes right here. And of course, the star of the show. Oh yes. I'm gonna break these in half. Look at that, man. We probably only need 2 slices. You know what? I'm going for 3. And that bacon is still nice and warm and it smells absolutely amazing. You can definitely smell the maple coming through from that cure. Oh yeah. Look at that. Let's give this a try. All right, before I bite into that sandwich, I want to try the bacon by itself. And look at that nice thick strip of bacon. Here we go. Wow. I'm going to tell you guys right now, that tastes totally different than store-bought bacon. This is absolutely delicious. My only regret is not smoking more of these pork bellies. I got to tell you, next time, what do I have? 6 shelves on that Pro Max? I'm smoking 6 pork bellies. That is absolutely amazing. Now, let's try our BLT. Look at that. Texas size BLT. Oh yeah, I cannot wait. I know your mouth is watering and so is mine. So here we go. Guys and gals, I am not kidding. This right here is heaven. I gotta tell you, that bacon right there tastes unlike any other bacon I've ever had in my life. It is so full of flavor. That maple flavor is coming through. That pepper that we added towards the end. This is a solid tasting bacon. So if you were to ask me if making bacon is difficult, it's not. Is it time consuming? Not really, because it's sitting in your fridge most of the time, or it's sitting inside your smoker. Is the prep work difficult? Not at all. You guys saw that. It's really simple to make, and I highly recommend that you give this a try. I hope you guys enjoyed this simple bacon video. If this is your first time to my channel, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. Until next time, Joe with Smokin Joe's Pit BBQ. See ya.